We start with the comment from the head coach. Play calling is my superpower.
Play calling is my superpower, really.
Look, it's fun to laugh at. We could have some fun in the offseason, but this is a notable comment from the head coach because the bottom line is when you say this, if the defense doesn't perform, if they look anywhere close to what they were this past year when they were a historically inept unit, didn't have one interception all year, that will never happen in the history of the NFL again. When you say that, if you're Aaron Glenn, when you say, no, the rumors of Woody forcing me to call the plays and not hire Wink, it's not true. I was still interested in Wink. Wink was still interested, even if he wasn't the play caller. But I went with Brian Duker instead because he knows me from Detroit. If you say that, now you have to deliver. Aaron Glenn is basically saying, it's on me. You know, I think there's a lot of people probably inside the Jets building, talking to some people with the Jets last night. I'm sure Jets PR doesn't love the fact that this is now going to be like memed into an oblivion if the Jets stink, but Aaron Glenn's putting it on him. And that's truly the bottom line with his presser yesterday. He owned his mistakes in year one, which I think I could appreciate as a fan. He took accountability. It's all on him. If he's going to turn it around, it'd be a historic outlier. But at the end of the day, I'm a Jet fan, and I'd love to be wrong about this head coach. And he's putting it on him. He's saying play calling is my superpower. Go out and prove it. Go out and show us now that play calling is your superpower. Because while the defenses in Detroit got better year over year through his 4 seasons as a DC, he had an elite offense to rely on. He had Ben Johnson. He had Dan Campbell. He had a real quarterback in Goff. And the Jet fan, and specifically the Jets in 2026, we can't wait 4 years for you to finally produce a top 10 defense. We can't wait. Right? We need results now. We need improvement now. So Glenn's not going to get, this multi-year process to fix the defense. You got 4 picks in the top 44. You have an enormous amount of salary cap space. Go fix the defense right now. Go fix it. That's what you have to do if you're Glenn. You have to get this done immediately. There's no time to waste. And we'll see if you could do it. For those who missed the full quote and not just the funny drop that Gator made.
Play calling is my superpower, really.
This was Glenn yesterday giving us the answer that has honestly been the talk of the combine from people I've spoken to.
To me, play calling is my superpower, really. Doing it for 4 years in Detroit. And, man, just look at the maturation of those 4 years of how we improved every year and how I improved as a play caller. I really miss doing that. And I think it's a huge part of helping us become the team that I see us become, the team that I knew Mooj see us becoming, the team that Woody sees us becoming. So that was a huge part of that. And I don't want to second guess that. And I will go back. When I say the mistakes that I've made, I'm not going to make that same mistake, and I feel like I need to do that when it comes to the team. When it comes schematically, who we're going to be, man, we have a number of guys on defense that's going to help be able to build that. And that's the fun part about building around these men is building a defense that I think that that's going to actually put the players in position to be successful. And this is not my defense. This is going to be the New York Jets defense, and everybody on that side is going to be a huge part as far as building that. So I'm excited about that.
Look, it has to be the Jet defense. It can't be the Aaron Glenn defense in Detroit. You don't have the same personnel. What good coaching is, right? Aaron Glenn had the famous line over the summer. It's coaching, man. It's coaching.
Coaching. It's coaching. What do you mean? Because he can do it. It's just coaching. That's all it is.
Well, what good coaching is, Aaron, is being able to take the talent you have and going out there and turning said talent into a scheme that fits the players you have, right? Oh, I need to get my guys. No, man, you got to take what you have and make it work. That's the NFL. You don't get year over year all this time to build out your system, your scheme. You got to take talent and make them better. You got to design a defense that fits the players you have. And you have a lot of personnel that you could add to this team given the enormous amount of resources the Jets have. So Glenn is putting it on him. But we have to hope that just like how Glenn loves to talk about how, I was a first-year coach. I made a lot of mistakes. And it's like, dude, you were talking like you were a 10-year coach a year ago. You were arrogant. The messaging was all about winning now. You took shots at Robert Saleh's staff. Oh, the last 4 minutes belong to the head coach. We're going to be a smart, disciplined team. It's coaching, man. Justin Fields, we're going to let him play quarterback. He's never been allowed to do that. We could go down the line. Everyone knows. But now, you don't get, I was a DC in Detroit. It took me 4 years to get a top 10 unit. Like, you got to hope that if you're a Jet fan, which I am, and I assume many watching the show are, you got to hope that Glenn could pick right up where he left off as far as this superpower of play calling that he claims to have. And the one thing you got to question, too, when he says this.
Play call is my superpower, really.
Well, at any point did you think to try and help Steve Wilks? I know this for a fact. Robert Saleh at times would take over play calling in the middle of games from Ulbrich. Ulbrich was still the play caller, but there were moments where Saleh was heavily involved in the defensive play calling. It was never official, it was never reported on, but you got to trust me on this one. There were moments where Saleh would take over. Did Glenn ever do that once this past year? Like, the job of a head coach is the problem solve beyond anything else. Can Glenn problem solve? Well, he thinks problem solving is calling the plays. Well, he's got to go out there and prove that. He's got to go out there and now show us that he's going to be able to go out there and fix this defense. Because, again, I think if you're a fair Jet fan, you're not expecting Aaron Glenn to magically fix the offense with Frank Reich and whatever bridge quarterback option they bring in, or whatever like swing they take in the draft on day 2 or day 3. But how does Aaron Glenn get a third year? Someone asked me this with a different team last night. Well, he's got to win at least 7 games, in my opinion. And the arrow's got to be pointed up. We got to be able to see like real, tangible improvement. Right? Salo only won 7 games, but you saw guys get better on defense. And it was like, if we could get him a quarterback, or if Rodgers got healthy, like, there was enough. I know people didn't love Salah, but there was enough to at least be optimistic that he could turn out to be a good head coach. With Glenn, you got nothing in year 1. You know, it was a running joke. What does he do well as a coach? What are his strengths as a coach? Well, if his superpower was play calling and he didn't use it, he basically gave himself kryptonite by choice. He basically said, nah, I'm good. I mean, that's really what happened. So, look, time will tell. But you got to hope that Aaron Glenn could go out there and truly learn from what happened in year 1. Ladies and gentlemen, today's closer, sing along.
Get ready for Neil. He will make 13 points about the New York Jets and maybe hump a Patriots jersey. Get ready for Neil. He's probably smoking a big fat cigar and burning his house to the ground. That's Neil.
Jake, I'll be quick. Want to wish Peter Castro a happy 80th birthday. Oh, I don't think he's 80. I always say I call him Peter Fields Castro. Because remember a year ago at this time,
he believed.
He said we were going to win 10 or 11 games and Justin Fields was going to be a great quarterback and Aaron Glenn, we were going to turn it around and we were going to be a great team. Do you remember those takes, Peter's takes?
I could never forget.
All he responds back to me is 17-0, Neil's prediction. That's his snapback on me. Well, I will tell you this. Every year, I've said this since I've been on your show, I always make a bet for the Super Bowl. In case the Jets one day ever get in it, the only way I could afford to go is if I have a bet, because I have to take my boys, that I'll have to have a bet. Now I may have to take my grandkids. I'll have to have a bet to be able to afford to go there because I plan on doing a full week in the Super Bowl, the whole gambit, so it's going to cost probably, I figure I used to be able to pinpoint maybe $20,000 to do the Super Bowl. What do you think? What do you think 4 people is going to cost in 2026? God willing, the Jets ever make the Super Bowl, Jake?
Tickets, hotels, flights, food. You're going to do
per person. What do you think it's going to cost?
At least $25K a person.
There you go. So
and that might be on the lower side, realistically, because think about it. If the Jets were ever in the Super Bowl, it'd be the most expensive Super Bowl ticket of all time.
Yeah, but you know what's ironic? It would cost me the cheapest to be able to get that $100,000 this year versus any other year. Right now, we're 25,000 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, Jake. Think about that. 25,000 to 1. In 2023, when we got Aaron Rodgers, our Super Bowl odds were plus 1,600. That's how much hope we had. I think we were the 4th or 5th team to win the Super Bowl in 2023. Last 2024, we were plus 2,500. Now we're plus 25,000. I mean, Jesus Christ. So that means, Jake, again, it's going to cost what? $250 to what is 25,000 to 1? What do I got to put down to get $100,000? $250?
I think you got to put. I'm bad at math, Neil. Wouldn't that be $100 if it's plus 25,000?
Right. So $250 gets me $100,000.
Sure. I don't know if that's correct. I'll take your word for it.
All right. So I have to put 250. I used to have to put 500 up to be able to get to the Super Bowl, just to, get a ticket in it for two.
Do we need to waste time with this math now, though?
All right. So let's forget about that. The one thing I want to say, I like Reuben Bain because he's a bigger guy. I want bulk on the defensive side of the football. I want linebackers that weigh more than 215 pounds, like Jamie and Sherwood. I want guys on the defensive line that are big and beastly, that can give pressure up the middle. I'm not so much, these edge guys. I mean, I don't see that being the way we want to be. I want to stop the run quickly, efficiently, and I want big guys on the defense, Jake. That's what I want. I'll take a safe. I don't want a safety, to be chasing down long passes after we give quarterbacks 5 seconds to throw the ball. That's not going to do us any good. We need pressure up the middle. We need big guys. We have to focus on free agency. I look at these other teams. When you looked at the Super Bowl, right? Who made the biggest impression in the playoffs on the defensive side of the ball? It was these big guys. It was the guys up the middle. That the 300-pound guys were getting pressure up the middle and forcing guys off the pocket. That's what we need. I don't care who it is and what it is. Let's get some big, strong men.
Live from Indianapolis, it is indeed the Jake Asman Show, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Big thanks to all the Asmaniacs who have been tuned in to our coverage so far this week. The best is yet to come. A lot to talk about with the state of the Jets, and we bring on a first-time guest. He is from Queens. He is a diehard Jet fan, and you can check out his content with uStadium. Frankie and Nick have not corrupted him completely. It's our guy, Omari Brown. Omari, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Jake. No, I haven't been corrupted yet, but we'll see. It's still early in the week, and it's still early in the NFL year.
Give us the little background on yourself. I know you played football, and you, of course, grew up a huge Jets fan, and now you get a chance to make content on the NFL.
Yes, yeah. So I played college football, small college upstate, Utica College. So I was the Landon Robertson of our team, 5'11" on a good day, nose tackle. Yeah, man, been a Jets fan for a long time. If you guys really want to dig into some archives, you can find me leading a Jets chant at Radio City Music Hall. And I thought Stephen Hill was going to be the next pick. So, I mean, that's as Jets fan as it can get. So, yeah, I've definitely earned my stripes, and I've, took my lumps.
You certainly have. So we got a lot to talk about with the current state of affairs for the Jets. Let's start with what Aaron Glenn said yesterday. His superpower is play calling. He is now going to be taking over as the Jets play caller on defense. We knew it was coming. He confirmed it yesterday. What's your reaction to Glenn saying he's got some superpowers?
Play call is my superpower, really.
Yeah. I mean, just like that right now. I thought, my first question to Glenn would have been, what did you learn from your first year? There's only 32 of these jobs, and it's a huge responsibility. I hoped that his answer would have been, not to give other teams and not to give content creators, memeable quotes. So he didn't learn his lesson in that regard. Another question I would have had for Glenn is, if that was your superpower, why didn't you control that aspect of the game right from jump? I understand that you wanted to be the CEO, but you need to put your imprint on this team and this franchise, and you need to get some positive momentum from the fan base. So I thought that, listen, I just hope that he I hope that he's able to deliver on his superpower, and I truly hope that his superpower is play calling, because if not, it's going to look really bad if you're losing by 3 touchdowns and everyone's talking about your superpower. The memes are going to be generational.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, I saw this earlier today. This was the headline of the New York Post and the graphic that came with it. Super bold, Aaron Glenn re-tapping into his superpower for the Jets next season. This could either go one of two ways. He could be awesome at it, and this will be the moment we go, wow, he really learned, and this is what they needed, or, and probably the more likely outcome given the Jets' history, it blows up in their face. Glenn's not good enough. The defense doesn't improve enough, and he's out of a job in a year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with this, this offseason needs to be about, stabilizing the ship and also finding some talent. And I think that, there needs to be less noise about the New York Jets. And if anything, you want it to be all positive, or you want it to be quiet at all. I wouldn't be drawing any extra attention to myself if I was Aaron Glenn. I'd be dead set on proving that I'm the man for this job, and I can, break the longest playoff drought in the NFL.
What's your superpower, Omari?
My superpower would be, persistence. I would say patience and loyalty. That's what I'm going to tell. That's what I'm going to tell my future wife. Loyalty, because I am a Jets, Knicks. Yankees don't really count, but I'm a Jets and a Knicks fan, and it's been tough sledding there for almost half of my life.
I'll tell you what. If you are a Jet fan watching this, your superpower is in fact loyalty as well, because there's no such thing as a bandwagon Jets fan. That is certainly so. Omari, let's talk about some of the takeaways from Moughey's presser yesterday. First things first, I'm going to play you the question Moughey was asked about potentially calling the Raiders about the number 1 pick in the draft.
I talk to Spytech and those guys often, as I do with other teams, talk about moving up, moving back. Absolutely, we'll talk about all those things, but I don't think that's happening. You could ask Spytech, though.
Spytech, of course, John Spytech, the Raiders GM. I didn't think there was any scenario the Jets could get to 1, even if they offered almost everything. I think when they hired Clint Kubiak to be their head coach, that signaled to me Mendoza's going number 1. They need a quarterback. Kubiak is coming off a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. He's not taking his first head coaching job and going to a team where there's not a clear path to getting his quarterback. And I think his quarterback, when the second he signed the contract, it was going to be Fernando Mendoza.
Absolutely. And I think the Raiders, they were just as dysfunctional as the Jets this last year. There's no way that they can get a talented head coach like Clint Kubiak without having the first overall pick, and that first overall pick being Fernando Mendoza, who everyone thinks is the number 1 quarterback in this draft. So yeah, I think that it's a perfect marriage, and I think that some people would lose their jobs if they were to trade out of that spot unless they received an all-time haul. So there's no surprise there. But what I would like to see from Darren Moughey in his second draft, his first draft was safe. Omari Brown was an easy pick. I think Mason Taylor was a solid pick, a safe pick, and A.Z. Thomas was a safe pick. So now that you've been able to get your high character guys in there, the Malachi Moores, the Kiko Maui Noahs, let's take some chances. I'm sure Jets fans want to see a GM with some competency. We want to see some aggressiveness, being in 16, and Jake, a lot of these people are going to say that this is a weaker draft. Because it's a weaker draft, I want to see some maneuvering from Darren Moughey. Be aggressive and move up if you can. I'm eyeing 7. With the Commanders. The Commanders pick at 7, and then they don't pick again until 71. The Jets have 4 premium picks.
Great point.
We could package 16 and maybe 44, move up to 7, and really get, somebody that's at the top of your board. So, we could be talking about, listen, you can go edge, you can go receiver, and then if you jump back into the 7, there might still be edge number 2 or 3 there. So I think I really want to see some aggression from Darren Moughey, and I want to see him take some chances and really go get the player that you want in a draft that's quote unquote weaker.
Now, your thoughts at pick 2 now, because based on what you just said, it feels like you'd lean with edge at 2. Where do you stand as things currently sit with the Jets' options in that spot?
So I'm an Arvell Reese guy. I think Arvell Reese I think he's phenomenal. I think he has the highest ceiling of the 3 pass rushers. So we're talking Reese, Bain, and Bailey. Okay, I think that Arvell Reese is only 20 years old. We saw him today. Frame, projectable. He can put on at least another 15 to 20 pounds, and I think that he would really grow into an every down edge. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to say, he doesn't have a home. Arvell Reese is going to be an edge. He's going to be playing edge, and if he's with the Jets, he's going to be playing edge. And I think that you could put him opposite of a Will McDonald, and I think that you could create a 2-headed monster that we could generate some real pressure. So hopefully we can get an interception next year.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. So I'm going Arvell Reese. But again, let's buck the trend. If you want, I could talk myself into a Carnell Tate. I would love to have the Ohio State receivers on opposite sides. And I think, one thing we all want to do, I feel like Garrett Wilson is respected and we love him amongst Jets fans, but I still think that he's a best kept secret. And that's because that there's no other threats on the Jets. So I know people are going to say, they're probably in the chat right now, hey, listen, this guy, what is this guy talking about? Because they don't have a quarterback. Me, I'm just assuming that they're going to do their due diligence and get a quarterback. But I really want Garrett Wilson to be able to roam free and not always have two defenders on him and the entire defense scheming to stop him.